Live, or I think we are live. Let me just quickly see if this is
Uh,
properly visible on LinkedIn. Just give me a second while I verify. Yes, we are live. Cool. So, hello everyone. This is Pragya Agarwal. So, I am a senior developer here at InterviewBit, and I'm also an instructor. So, welcome to Scaler Mentor Talk. And today we have Ayush joining us. So, let me quickly introduce Ayush to every one of you. So Ayush has completed his master's in computer science from one of the top institutes in India, which is IIIT Hyderabad, right? And Ayush has had quite a rich professional history. So back in 2016, when Groupon was one of the fastest growing startups, Ayush was interning there. So apart from Groupon, he has also worked at InterviewBit as a developer in the past. Ayush has experience in the HFT domain. So, Two Roads Tech is one of the largest high frequency trading companies in India. And Ayush was a software developer there in the data infrastructure team. Uh, After that, Ayush has also worked in Cohesity. So, Cohesity also works in the data management domain. And in fact, there at Cohesity, Ayush was leading a project which handled data backups and restore for large clients like Google, Accenture, and Deloitte. So Ayush was involved in the product decisions over there, the sales meeting, and basically end to end, everything related to that project was being handled by Ayush along with one more member in his team. Since the past 1 year, Ayush has been working with LinkedIn in the big data and analytics team. And since more than 1 year actually, Ayush has also been a mentor with us at Scaler Academy. And he has mentored several students from various batches of Scaler Academy. So, Ayush has been quite through a lot of varied professional settings, and he's here with us today to share his experience and his learning. So, thank you so much, Ayush, for joining us.
Thanks, Pragya. Thanks.
Can you hear me, Ayush?
Yes, I can.
Cool.
Yes.
Perfect. So, just to make sure that we all get to know you a little better, maybe you could share some things about yourself. So, in your own words, who are you? Where do you come from? How was your childhood, your early education and schooling, things like
Sure.
that?
Sure. Yeah. So, as Pragya already mentioned, so my name is Ayush. I was born and brought up in Allahabad. Like now we know it as Prayagraj. My entire schooling was done here. Uh, I was a student of Boys High School, which is like uh, it was an ICSE board school. Uh, so post that, like so while I was in 12th, uh, I gave my I appeared for all the engineering entrance exams. Uh, Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. So uh, so yeah, I took 1 year drop, went to Kota, which probably everyone does. And yeah, then after 1 year of preparation there, I got admitted into IIIT Hyderabad, and yeah, after 5.5 years there, I started my career. Um, yeah, and like I started my career with Two Roads. Then I shifted to Cohesity. Post Cohesity, I joined LinkedIn. So currently, I'm working in LinkedIn. I've been working there for the past 11 months or so, and yeah, it's yeah, that's mostly it. Yeah.
Well, so how did you get introduced to computers? So was it during your school years itself, or did you get into computer science during your college time?
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
So I I I can clearly remember, I like it. So the first time, I operated a computer, was in my computer lab in my school, uh, and someone was playing a very old game. Like there was a game known as Dave. It was like Mario, Super Mario, right? So someone was playing that, and like I had never even seen a video game till that point of till that point of time in my life. So I was very like infatuated with it. Then like couple of years later. So in my class sixth, I think, yeah, my parents bought me a computer. I wasn't hooked onto it like a lot. Okay, I just used it for like playing a few games and listening to some music. uh, we didn't have like internet, so yeah. Uh, so yeah, I mean, I wasn't among those people, who were really hooked onto computers and uh, like who were spending like 10 hours a day on computers. I wasn't at all like that. Okay. Uh, and to be very honest, to be very honest with everyone who's watching this, I didn't take computer science as a branch. I didn't choose computer science uh, because I was interested in computers. To be very honest, okay. Uh, I took I took computer science branch because that was the stream where usually the top rankers go to, and I was getting it, so I took it. Okay, to be very honest. Okay, uh, so yeah, but when I entered college, I started liking computer science. Okay, I found it to be very logical. It is very closely associated with maths, so that helped. Okay, and yeah, uh, so so basically I really liked computer science. When I entered my college, uh, and my professional life has only compounded that effect. uh, and yes, so I like it more than I like computer science today more than I liked it, let's say, 3 months ago, because there is so many new things, and we learn about like each day, especially during my work at LinkedIn. uh, like it feels that basically my college education is worthless because I don't even know like anything, to be honest. Okay, so yeah, uh, it's a massive field, and I enjoy working on it. Yes.
That's interesting. So class six was a very early introduction, to be very honest, with computers. That's wonderful. So you basically told us that you were in Kota. Kota is supposed to be a very harsh environment
Yeah.
for especially for, I mean, young students.
Yeah.
And then you were part of Triple IT Hyderabad. So Triple IT Hyderabad is known to have one of the best coding environments. So the
Yes.
clubs over there, the coding clubs over there. So could you tell us a little more about the 4 years of your college life? How was the peers in your college? I mean, did you participate in competitive coding during your college
Yes.
time? And what
Yes.
platforms did you use? Things like that.
Sure. Sure. So that's, yeah, it's very true that Triple IT Hyderabad has a like probably the best coding environment in India. I mean, I won't get into that argument. Okay. uh, but yes, I mean, when I entered college, so just for an example, I mean, uh, how great the coding culture was. Uh, uh, so I knew Anshuman, I knew the name, I knew the personality of Anshuman Singh before I entered college. Okay, because I was, I mean, every student wants to verify, or just wants to make sure that they are entering the right college. Okay, uh, so I read about Triple IT, and I read about Anshuman Singh. I read about his ICPC, like that he went to, that he represented India in ICPC World Finals, right? So yeah, I had that like sort of introduction to competitive programming and ICPC, in college, before coming to college itself. Okay, uh, when I entered college, I had like terrific and like really smart batchmates. My one of my wingmate was like later went on to represent India at the World Finals again. Okay, uh, and yes, I mean, so the coding culture, which you just mentioned, right? I think it plays a very big, it's a very important factor, in how basically the contribution of that coding in my environment is, I think it's very big towards my career, right? uh, because since everyone does it in college. Okay, and I don't mean it as a very good thing. Okay, just to be honest, I don't mean it as a very good thing, but everyone does it in college, or in my college at least. And so students used to develop this kind of a FOMO attitude, that if they're not participating in coding contests, they are probably missing on something very important. Okay, so so I got introduced to it in that way. Okay, uh, I mean, I started participating, but the good part was, or can say I was lucky that I actually liked it. Okay, I didn't really like got a very good rating or anything. Okay, but I went to regionals once. Okay, and but and I didn't take it very seriously. Okay, I liked doing it. I liked that like environment of solving 5 problems in 2 hours, and the rush of it. So that was the best part, and it very obviously, it contributed to my problem solving skills, and like, yeah. So as per the for the platform, I always, like, for the majority of time I spent my time on code forces. Okay, so I was not a very good, like, coder as per se, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing it. Yeah, and the main point was I was very consistent in doing it. Okay, I did it for a long time, so that was very helpful. Yeah.
Right. That's very interesting. So I mean, of course, so the advantages of being introduced, having guidance about, okay, you should go to platforms like CodeChef and InterviewBit and basically participate in code competitions there, learn data structures and algorithms. That is very helpful. Being at Triple IT Hyderabad, that would certainly have helped you into getting into that into that thing. For a lot of third tier colleges and a lot of colleges that do not have this coding culture, right, who do not have these clubs, what would you recommend to those students? How would you say that, how should they get started with competitive programming?
Okay. Sure. Sure. So I mean, I mean, if you look today, right, I think Indian students, no matter what tier of colleges they study in, I think uh, the overall awareness has increased a lot about competitive coding, right? That's certainly a very good thing. Okay. Uh, I think every or most of the students, are aware about what code forces and code chef are. Okay. Similarly, hacker rank, hacker earth, there are like multiple platforms. Okay. I'm probably not even like, I'm probably counting like 4 of the main ones, right? Uh, so the main, like, the most important part about competitive coding, which in my opinion is that students should, like, I don't I don't think smartness plays a very vital role in competitive coding or basically getting a good job, to be very honest. Okay, but I think the most important factor is grit. Okay, and consistency, to be very honest. uh, I don't feel that people in studying in IIT Bombay or IIT Kanpur or Triple IT Hyderabad are much smarter than someone studying in a tier 3 college. I truly don't believe that. However, what I do believe is a student studying in a tier 1 college will have will have more grit and determination in him than someone in tier 3 college. Okay, and uh, I think that's what people should focus on, right? uh, Tier 3 college students, I think, I mean, I know a lot of people who reach out to me on LinkedIn or on, like, or even on Facebook, are trying to ask, like, ask for guidance. uh, I think the only thing I advise them to or suggest them to do is be gritty. Okay, and definitely be consistent. Okay, let's say you make a target, that you want to become a, like, expert level or a candidate master on code forces, right? I think it's better to solve 1 or 2 questions every day, rather than going on a sprint at the end of a weekend and solving 20 questions in one day. Okay, I don't think the second case really helps in you becoming a better coder. Okay, I don't think that at all. Okay, this, as like this, the mindset of to solve logical problems, solve coding problems, I think it develops gradually. for everyone. Okay, some people obviously take less time than the other one. I mean, that is just nature's rule, but I can absolutely like almost 100% guarantee someone, that if someone is enough gritty and determined, to become a good coder or to get a good job or to improve their ratings on, or basically become a very good competitive coder, I think grit and determination, supersedes every other quality.
I agree with what you have to say. Basically, intelligence and smartness is kind of overrated. What people don't usually, so when someone succeeds, people usually miss out. People usually attribute it to their smartness, to their intelligence, to their innate capabilities. What people fail to see is the kind of hard work the successful people put behind their success. Right. So I totally concur with you over here that uh, one should focus on the hard work, being consistent, and doing taking small steps on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
instead of going on a sprint, taking small steps on a daily basis. That
Yes.
makes a lot of sense to me. Right. Cool. So moving on from your college experience of coding culture, could you tell us a little more about your professional experience? So you have worked with a lot of different companies. You must have experienced different work cultures over there, different team dynamics over there, and especially about your current employer being at LinkedIn, or I mean, being a mentor at Scaler Academy. So could you share something about your professional experience?
Sure. So I have worked in a company, which has like so Two Roads had only like 50 employees. Okay. Uh, Cohesity was like a step further above. It is now like a big unicorn. But by the time I joined, they were like only I think the 37th employee in India. Okay. Now there are more than 200 employees, I think. Okay. So I have, and LinkedIn, as you already know, like it's a part of Microsoft, and yeah, I mean it's a very big company, right? So I have worked in like different stages of a company's like lifetime, and yeah, the experience has been like very different, to be honest. Okay. uh, since I mean the difference is mainly in terms of the impact you make in a company. Okay. uh, and obviously, I mean, if a company has has a niche product and it's working on, and only a few people are working on it, obviously you'll have a much bigger hand and a much bigger role in making an impact on it, right? uh, but on the same way, like on a completely different note, actually, uh, a company like LinkedIn, uh, gives you the opportunity to work on much more complex problems. Okay. Like the code base is huge. It's very cohesive, and the problems which you face in LinkedIn while working at LinkedIn or while working at any big company, uh, versus the problems you face while working in a startup or a unicorn, they are very different, right? uh, so I mean, it's good, that I have been like I have got a chance to to work in different environments. I think that has helped me in becoming like more knowledgeable. Okay, I won't say it has like and a better engineer than I was yesterday. uh Coming on to the behavioral aspect of it, uh I think I have made like a lot of like good friends along the way. Okay. Like one of my like my current circle right now is mostly like it mostly comprises of people who I know from Cohesity, and also LinkedIn. And all in all, people, when you feel comfortable with people, you like working at that place and you like working with them. Okay. And I don't I mean so like while mentoring at Scalar Academy, I have always felt that students who are currently like in college, they don't fully appreciate the behavioral aspect of a professional environment, or they don't probably they don't have basically exposure to it, right? So uh, I certainly think that since the last 2.5 years of my like professional life, I have become a more well-spoken person, a more well-behaved person. Okay, uh, and yeah, these things you gather up, you gather while you work with good and smart people, right? It's not just the engineering knowledge you gain from them. Okay, uh, you also like it all. They also affect your personality. Okay, you also learn how to basically be yourself in a professional environment, right? And that is very important when you work with different people. You don't want friction with people you work with, right? So yeah, that's mostly it.
Makes sense, makes sense. So in fact, I believe that a lot of the change that that people see when they move on to a professional environment, the personality improvement, the work ethic improvement that they see in themselves is probably because of having someone to look up to, having someone who has been in your place and who has
Yeah.
done that thing, and basically learning from their mistakes, learning from their experience. I mean, basically having people like mentors in your life. So, I mean, what do you think about that? I mean, about the importance of mentors, maybe mentorships in
Yeah.
anyone's success, or basically, I mean, have you had mentors in your life? Who is your mentor, and I mean, how did they help you in life, in personal life, or in professional life, things like that?
Sure. So okay, so we have like any student's life has different stages, right? Once we were in school, then we shifted to college, then we shifted to a professional life, then we switched companies and so on, right? So when I entered college, right? So when I was in school, my parents were my mentors, right? uh, because they could handle everything. They had the answer to every doubt I had. Right. When I entered college, it was a new place for me. It's a new place for everyone, basically, right? So you my mentors were my seniors, right? Who were doing well, right? Who were good at competitive coding, or who were good at contributing to open source. Okay. Uh, and post that, and later on, even my wingmates became sort of my mentors. uh, Someone who was very good at competitive coding, I used to ask him questions about like questions, like technical questions, as well as how did you become such a good competitive coder. So obviously, I mean, I fully like believe in the idea of taking help whenever necessary. I mean, okay, if someone is not taking help, I think he is like making the field tougher for himself. Okay. Now when I entered into my professional life, uh, in any company, the entire tech stack is new. Okay. But during my internship as well, when I interned at Interview Bit, like Anshuman and Abhimanyu and Tushar were my mentors. Okay, even Sai was my mentor. Okay. uh, so you know and similar, I can say the same for any company, for every company I have worked at, right? And the thing is, I mean, I used to feel that someone would be my mentor in the first 2 months only, or let's say for the first few months, in so that I can get up to pace with the tech stack and get all the knowledge possible. But now I don't feel that way. Okay, I think once you I think someone who has been working in LinkedIn for the last 5 years or 6-7 years, uh, I think he has a much broader knowledge, about the entire LinkedIn tech stack than me. Okay, and it will take much more than 2 or 3 months, for me to fully know about things, right? So a person, who was my mentor at the start of my LinkedIn career is still my mentor, and I'm pretty sure he will remain my mentor for the next like possible like time to come, right? uh so and secondly, there are people, who you always look up to, who are just a constant, like, okay. So uh I mean, to be honest, I mean, I'm a very big sports fan. Okay. And there are, I mean, I would be lying if I haven't learned from the bigger, like, the biggest sports personalities in different sports. Okay. So I mean, everyone gives an account of how hardworking Cristiano Ronaldo is. Okay, now Cristiano Ronaldo doesn't know that Ayush Tripathi exists and he lives in India. But for me, he has always been a source of inspiration and motivation. Okay, same is the case with Rafael Nadal. Okay, so even though they don't know me, but I still feel that they have contributed a lot uh, to to my learning, or how to deal with problems in life in general. And when I say problems, I don't mean coding challenges or interview problems. Okay, I'm talking about in general life, right? So yeah, I mean, and there is no dearth of mentors around someone. If you just need to ask for help. That's what I truly feel. Because I think people, especially in our industry, in the tech industry, I think you will find more people who are helpful than people who are not. Okay, so I think if you ask around, you will definitely receive help, and I have been very fortunate in that aspect.
Yes, that's I agree with that again. So I mean, even if you reach out to people on LinkedIn, if you just message someone asking for guidance, asking for help, that hey, I'm facing this issue in my professional life or in my personal life, can you help me out? People most often respond with a very positive, with a very encouraging message. And
Definitely.
most people, at least in our industry, we are fortunate enough that
Yes.
in our industry, in the IT industry, people are extremely helpful.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Agree.
on a similar front, so you are also a mentor with Scaler Academy, and I mean, it is not the case that being a mentor over here is very simple or that you do not really have work. So, being at LinkedIn, you must have a very hectic schedule. Despite that, you find time to be a mentor here at Scaler Academy. I mean, what motivates you to be a mentor for our students?
Wait. Uh, so I think I always liked teaching. Yeah, I always liked teaching. And Skill Academy, is one platform where you know you can just go and become a teacher. You can just share your experiences and your learnings with students. What motivated me, was like obviously this uh, passion for teaching I had, and secondly, I think that I received a lot of help during my career, like during my college days, from my friends, right? Uh, and I was fortunate enough to have such kind of friends. Okay, uh, and as we discussed earlier, the privilege of studying in a good college, and in a college where the coding environment is very good, and the overall uh, like feel about competitive coding is very positive. I don't think every student in this country has that. Okay? So to basically you can say like fulfill that, and help other students uh, who are probably like not as privileged to have that same exposure to a good coding environment. Okay, or to have like as motivated peers as I had. That's the reason. That's one of the most important reasons. Why I uh, like uh, yeah like applied to be a mentor at Scalar Academy. And yeah, I mean, I to be honest, I don't even have a count, of how many mentees I had. I have had till date. Uh, and I I have had some like pretty good conversations, with people like with my mentees or like in the past 1 year. And yeah, I mean, it's good, when people like when people take your advice and when they act upon it, and it gives them good results. I mean, you obviously feel good. Okay, so when they feel good, you also feel a bit like you also feel good obviously. Okay, and so in some ways, I am selfish as well, because in the end I am getting that gratification and happiness that okay, someone is benefiting and someone is doing well in my life, in their life, based on my advice or my suggestion, or basically there was some way I could help someone improve their career. Okay, so yeah, you can say I'm sort of selfish in that way as well. uh, So yeah,
that is in fact very powerful. So I mean, having received mentorship yourself and then having the motivation to basically pass it forward and
yeah,
basically see other people succeed thanks to your mentorship, that is very powerful. I hope that we can, I mean, through Scaler Academy, we can create a positive feedback loop, which will basically uh, give mentorship to a lot of students, and in the future they can go ahead and become mentors themselves.
sure, sure.
That's very interesting. So, I mean, as you said that you have mentored several students, and I mean, you had very nice conversations with them. So, could you basically tell us about any eureka moment that you had with your mentees, be it about your guidance that really helped them, or
Yeah.
something that they experienced which was very amazing in their from their point of view. So, could you share some basically points, some experiences that you had with your mentees?
Yeah. So this will sound repetitive probably. Okay. But a certain like mentee of mine, uh, like, and this was like last year actually. So he was he was I think he was working. Okay. He was working in some company, and he didn't used to like get much time, on weekdays. So what he did was he was like burning himself out. Uh, I mean, he was on his weekends. He was like studying for like 10-12 hours a day, and like just grinding out interview bit and lead code problems. Okay. and and the like mental fatigue, or you can say the kind of, he used to get frustrated, when he and and his company was, I think, forcing him to work on weekends as well. Okay. So many a times in our sessions, he used to get like very frustrated and irritated by the fact, that he wasn't giving his best. He wasn't trying his best to, to prepare well and to do his Scalar Academy homework well. Okay. And he was falling behind. His problem solving percentage was down. His attendance for classes was down. Yeah. And in general, he was like quite frustrated. Okay. So I talked to him like a couple of times, and things weren't seem to like didn't seem to be working with him. However, post that phase of his, one day we were talking, and he was like, he wanted to like completely give up on the fact that he suggested, that he wants to like uh, probably leave his job or something. Okay. And I thought, that was not a good decision at that point of time. So I encourage him, to, I think we as mentors, are only allowed to have, or I'm not sure if allowed is the right word, but actually encouraged to, to have one session per for every 2 weeks, I think. Right. So we started. I suggested, that we can have sessions, uh, every week, every weekend. Uh, Secondly, and I try to calm him down on weekends, and not and suggested him, not to completely like focus on coding, because anyway he was like 5 days a week, 6 days a week he was working in office. And sometimes, you just need to calm down a bit, break your flow. Okay. Secondly, he was having like quite a few problems with DP problems, right? And yeah, we all know about how DP problems are. Okay. I myself, I'm not that great with DP problems. Okay. I don't think anyone can be fully sure, that he can solve any given DP problem, right? It's that kind of a scenario. So and mostly in hard problems in general, people, what they do is people do a problem, but when they try to do the same problem, let's say 2 months later, they, it's a high chance, that they might not be able to do it. Okay. So I suggested him a way as to how I did that, how I handled solving like hard problems or DB problems in general, uh, during my interview preparation phase. Okay. So I suggested him, that whatever problems you do, let's say in a week. Okay, first of all, I suggested him, to not burn himself out on the weekend. do one problem a day. Or if you are like more free, do 2 or 3 problems a day, right? Secondly, on weekends, just relax and just open the list of past problems you have done, like in the last 2 weeks or so. Check, whatever hard problems you feel are actually hard for you, just like code them mentally, right? Don't actually write code for them, right? Just think of how you would write the code, like just write the code in your mind, and think of test cases, think of edge cases which you need to handle for that problem, right? And then just look at your solution. Okay, check if you have missed any edge case. Check if you are missing any base case, or basically, was there any difference between your mental solution and your code, right? In this way, you are actually, some people might say that that it is memorizing the solution. I don't think that, this technique or uh, that way. Okay, I don't think it's memorizing the solution. You are just trying to solve that problem in your mind. That's it. Okay, you're just trying to write the code in your mind. And the good part is you don't spend much time on revising, right? So this helps with that as well. Okay, so, and when he followed that, when he started following that, and in the later mock interviews which I had with that mentee, I used to, I shifted my focus on towards hard problems for him. And I used to like feel that he was performing much better. And and more, like, most importantly, he was a lot more relaxed. He was a lot more happy with his efforts. Okay, and I think, mindset is probably the most important thing for any interview or exam you give, right? If you are in the right mindset, I think you are, that is the most important factor, which can make or break any interview or exam for you. Yeah. So,
So yes,
you recommend, you can, that is, me advising him to like how to revise on weekends, and that's a very quick way of revision as well. So it doesn't take much time, and it ensures, and it gives you the feeling, that whatever I have done till now is like I have done it like very well. So no one can take this away from me, right?
So in fact, this is a lot of there's a lot of misconception about in people's mind about what a mentor can help you with. So
Yeah.
a lot of the people, they think that okay, a mentor will help you solve a problem, or if you're facing some issue with some concept or something in data structural algorithms, a mentor will help you out. But in fact, a mentor helps you out in a much wider way. So for example, like you basically help that person understand how to effectively make revisions and how to make sure that whatever you have studied till now, whatever you have practiced till now, you do not lose that. You might have helped your mentors with time management as well, and a lot of things, be it in professional settings, be it in personal settings. Your mentor can actually help you out in a lot of varied ways in basically setting your life right.
Yeah.
So that's very nice. Uh, I mean, apart from that, how has you been your overall experience with Scaler Academy, with the curriculum that we have over here? And do you have any suggestions for us, ways in which we can improve? Maybe the mentor experience, maybe the curriculum, the way we take our lectures. Any
Yeah.
suggestions on there?
Uh, so regarding my like overall experiences, with Scalar Academy in general, I think it has been like largely very positive, right? Uh, any queries or questions that I have, they are resolved very quickly. Okay. Abhimanyu is very like he is very proactive in answering anything to mentors queries. Okay. So I don't think from an administrative point of view, there is anything left. Uh, like one of the co-founders is directly involved with with the mentors. So yeah, no, I don't think there can be any improvement in that aspect, to be honest. Okay. uh secondly secondly how any certain like feedback I might have about interview bit, like about Scalar Academy. uh I think most students, uh people students, and especially students, who are working, right? Who are working in certain companies. I think, I'm not sure what's the like solution for it, but I think like we expect certain like attendance percentage or homework percentage, how many problems that has a particular person solved, right? I think we need to cut some slack for people who are working professionally, okay, and who are Scaler Academy students, okay. I don't think they get the same time to solve problems as someone who is a full-time student, okay. uh, and especially, and I mean, when you work, you can have impromptu meetings as well, right? So I think that contributes to their lower attendance as well, okay. So yeah, I mean, someone who is working with let's say, who is working in a company, or who is a working professional, should not be compared like mark to mark with someone who is a full-time student, okay. So perhaps like some relaxation for them on the attendance percentage part, or the solving part, probably that can help, okay. Or they can be suggested to watch a lecture like once it is over as well. I mean, probably somehow they can mark the attendance, by watching a lecture after, by watching a recorded lecture as per se, okay. So yeah, something on that aspect, because I see students, who don't get much time to to basically focus on Scalar Academy while they're working because of their companies.
That's a very valuable suggestion. I mean, we have been working. So lately, we have been working a little bit on that. So basically, we have. So I'm not sure if relaxing the problem solve percentage criteria for them is a good idea. However, what we have tried to incorporate is basically, I mean, slow down the pace for them. So we have said that okay, instead of having 3 classes every week, we are only going to have 2 classes every week. We are going to have more remedials, more TA sessions, so that you get
Yeah,
to understand the concepts better. You get to pace
definitely,
it out a little bit, expand it out a little bit. So, I
definitely.
mean, that's a very, very valuable suggestion. That is something that we will definitely take care of going forward. That definitely a candidate who is working at present, and I mean, who might have a meeting that they might need to urgently attend to, or they might have some workload, they can't be equated with a college student who has all the
Yeah,
time in the world to basically dedicate to skills.
exactly.
Thank you for the suggestion. Right, cool. So, I mean, let's basically take some questions from the audience now. I see that we have quite some questions.
Sure.
Let's take questions one by one. So, here's one question by Hemant Kota. Hemant is asking, how has your time management changed over the years? So, basically, including this question, could you also answer? Could you also give our viewers some tips about time management and how to basically, I mean, if someone is currently working and they also want to upskill themselves in data structures or in high level design, how should they go about and do that?
Yeah. So I think like we already like discussed over that. So please, I mean, my advice on this would be, when you are working, don't stress yourself out, right? Because if you like completely stress yourself, I don't think you will be able to perform well in your professional life. And also, I mean, you will not be in a state of mind, to come back home and solve a bunch of coding problems, right? So don't stress yourself on the weekends. keep it Keep them free and light, okay. uh, and on weekdays, just do like give an hour or so, okay. I think uh, one can certainly make an hour's worth of time, for themselves to to learn something new. And I'm not saying this just for interview preparation or DS algo uh, knowledge, but I mean, devoting like making yourself 1 hour worth of time every day is not. I don't think it's a very big ask, right? uh, and be consistent, right? Especially now, when I now like talking about interview preparation, I think the flow of solving coding problems is very like, it's a very tricky thing to achieve. That is because I mean, I I experienced that myself. That, let's say I was in that interview preparation or solving coding problems phase for a period of 20 days. So for 20 days, I regularly solve coding problems, and then due to something or the other, for the next 15 days, I stopped problems I stopped my problem solving, right? Now when I come back, I feel, I mean, my entire flow used to get destroyed. uh, my thinking ability, wasn't the same as before. Okay. uh, and in general, my problem solving ability, had like has no had nosedived. Okay. So my suggestion would be to, but like, to just remain consistent. Okay. Like, maintaining consistency is very hard, and I mean, it might sound, that solving one problem per day is very easy, and everyone can do it. I don't think it's I don't think it's that easy. I mean, I fail at that, and I have failed at that, like, myself, like, numerous times. So just be consistent, and don't overwork yourself. Okay. 1 hour a day is very sufficient, to learn something new, whether it be a data structure or algorithm problem, or it can be any high level or low level design discussion. 1 hour is sufficient, I think. Okay. And don't, I mean, keep your weekends free. Okay. Because, I mean, they are your they are the ray of hope for you in this, like, I mean, when you are in your professional life. So please keep your weekends free. Okay. Don't overwork yourself.
That's nice. I mean, in fact, uh, I mean, now with the technology and the gamification that is coming up across the internet, you don't really have to worry that much about basically how will you make sure that you're consistent and things like that. A lot of
Right. Right.
websites, in fact, in fact, things like HackerRank and we ourselves at Interview, we have these programs of 21 days of code in which you can maintain a streak and
Exactly. Yeah.
basically
Yeah.
try out platforms like these. They will help you
Yeah.
get that instant reward, that instant gratification whenever you solve a problem. So that
Yeah.
will help you keep. I mean, that will help you. I mean, in keeping hooked and basically forming these good habits of being consistent.
I mean, now, I
Uh,
mean, now that you mention it, I think in 2015, when InterviewBit was launched in our college, I think ours was the first college where InterviewBit was launched. Obviously, because
right,
Anshuman and Abhimanyu came from the same college.
right,
And when I discovered this platform, like, so I think I'm not sure uh, of the current like metric, but at that point, 200 points was the, like, daily goal. Okay. And I was, like, really hooked onto it. Even uh, I mean, for the first 10 days or so, I was working very hard. Like, getting 3,000, or even like 4,000 points per day. But as, like, you know other commitments came in between, I made sure, that I was scoring at least 200 points, and I was solving, like, very easy and very petty questions, just to, like, maintain my streak. Okay. And now that I think of it, solving those, like, easy and very easy questions, I mean, it was a good uh, thing to do, because my flow didn't get destroyed because of that. Okay. And so, as you very correctly mentioned, that gamification, is very important, and I think, yeah, interview bit is very good at that.
that's very nice. Cool. So we have one more question here from Yash. So I would basically want to focus on the latter part of this question. So Yash says, what kind of hard work is required post-job accomplishment? So a lot of the students, they are focusing on how to get a job, how to get a good paying job. But once you have gotten that, what sort of hard work, what sort of upskilling is required to make sure that you keep growing in your career and you do not
Yeah.
basically get stagnant?
Sure, sure, sure. So, so I think to be very honest, I think our education system, is not up to the mark, of what is being done in the industry. Okay. uh, what I learned in college, okay, and what I'm doing in my professional life is vastly different. Okay. There might be a 10% overlap between those two things. Okay. So, uh, you know it's I mean, it's a bit like, difficult to describe, what is the hard work, because it's very generic and it's very abstract. Okay. uh, but you need to be like much more careful. I mean, I know this is not a good answer, okay, uh, but yeah, you need to be much more careful, and you need to be very aware about, about the stack you're working on, okay, about the code base you're working on, okay. And that's why, you should definitely ask for help whenever you get stuck in while you're working, okay. uh so it's, I mean, the hard part of, working in a software engineering job is that you have to think a lot, okay. Uh I mean, you have to basically keep in mind all the different components which are interacting together, okay. What is, and the intricacies of each component, how one component affects the other component, and and so on, right. I know this is not an answer you might be expecting, but this is what I have felt, in my last like 2.5 years, that good software systems, and scalable software systems are, they are, I mean, they have hundreds of components, and each component has its own complexity, and, you know getting familiar with that component, or, with getting familiar with the complexity of that system, and not getting, like discouraged by how vast it is or how complex it is. That is the hard part of a software engineering job, okay. Because many a times, I mean, the imposter syndrome is also very like common in the software tech industry. People think that they don't deserve to be in a place, because they are probably not working as well as their peers, okay. Just, just keep in mind that it's obviously a imposter syndrome. I mean, it's actually a syndrome, okay. So it's not true, okay. uh, and just give yourself time, okay. And trust me, I mean, it takes some time, to to perform at a high level in a good in a large company, okay. Or a company, which is handling, or which is building or working upon complex and scalable software systems, okay. uh, so if you think competitive coding was is hard, uh, I'm not trying to like scare anyone, but yes, I mean, I think working on scalable software systems is in fact a much harder problem. And I didn't used to believe this when I was in college, okay. I thought there is nothing can be as tough as, solving a division 1 D or E problem on code forces, okay. But yeah, now that I've been working for the last 2-3 years, I think, uh, like working on scalable software systems, and having a deep knowledge about them is a much more daunting task than the former. Yeah.
I agreed. I mean, so in fact, the IT field is a very fast moving field, and there's a lot of amazing work by very smart people that has already been done at places like Facebook, at places like Flipkart, at LinkedIn, at Amazon, building large systems that are, I mean, up for more than 99% of the time, and I mean that scale well to millions and billions of users. That is amazing, and that is extremely hard to do. So it is important for us to keep upskilling themselves. On that similar term, here's a question by Rahul. Rahul is asking for some book recommendations to study system design as a fresher. So I mean, as you become an experienced person, as you gather industry experience, you learn from your peers, you learn from your mentors, from your manager, from your seniors. But as a fresher who does not have this hands-on experience, what would you suggest him? How should they learn system design?
Okay. So, I think, like system design for like fresh college grads, I think, okay. First of all, if you're asking from a totally interview perspective, okay, I don't think many companies do that, okay. Like many companies, I mean, I think very few companies, focus on system design for new grads, okay. uh, but, I mean, my advice is different to this, okay. I think one, I mean, even as a fresh grad, one should be like at least familiar with the basic concepts of how systems work and how they function and how they interact with other systems. Okay. Uh, so let's say let's take the example of load balancing, right? It's a very, if you go and read any blog or answer on Quora or Reddit about load balancing, it will just be a paragraph of 5 to 10 lines, and you will know what load balancing is, right? So uh, I think one should be aware of such basic terminology for system design. Okay. Concepts like distributed hash table. Okay. Consistent hashing. Okay. So yeah, these are some of the concepts which I don't think they are system design concepts, to be honest. I think they are proper computer science concepts which every graduate or which every student who is coming out from a college should know. Okay. uh Not for the purpose of being able to answer them in an interview scenario. Okay. But from the perspective that they are indeed very important, and I mean they are uh, they are one of the most commonly used systems or structures in any company, right? So if you are aware about them, it will only help you in being a better software engineer, uh, and it will help you in your onboarding in any new company, because i mean it's just as I think many system design concepts are so basic in nature, and are so important, and necessary to know, that I would compare this, the analogy for these concepts which I just mentioned. I would the analogy for that would be, let's say, how how does, let's say, your computer how does a computer program run? Okay. Or how does a packet get transferred from one place to other? Okay. It's that basic. Okay. So there are, I think interview bit also has a very good system design section. Okay. They do like uh, they tell us, they teach us to how to design a, I think, a autocomplete system. They tell us how to design a messenger system, so if you just read those 5-6 different problems, first of all, you'll get to know all the basic underlying concepts about system design. Okay. And you will just become a better computer science student for once. Okay. So please forget, please forget that you're giving an interview. But just to become a better computer science student and be more knowledgeable, okay, I think every person should be like able to answer, or they should have the awareness of what these basic system design concepts mean. Okay. A very good I'm not sure if people can note it down, or I don't know, but a very good resource is Don Martin GitHub repository. Okay. I can share it with you, Pragya, after this
So
call
yes,
as well.
definitely we will. So I am aware of that resource. So I'll
Yeah,
just post it in the LinkedIn description after that, after this, in the
yeah,
LinkedIn and YouTube description. So
definitely, yeah.
definitely.
And
So you'll
and
find that later on in the description of the video. Okay.
sure. And designing data and intensive applications, yeah, it's a I have read it end to end, to be honest. Okay. That's,
Right.
yeah, that. And it is, to be honest, this is, to be honest, this book I won't recommend to someone who is just graduating from a college. Okay. But later on in anyone's professional life, this book, I think it's a must read. Yeah. Yeah. So,
And in fact, and I mean the point you made that this designing high-level systems, scalable systems, this is not something that a student should only learn once they have gotten into a job. These are basic
exactly.
skills that are required to become a good software engineer. And unfortunately, our schooling system, I mean, this is not just in India. In fact, across the world, the computer science education does not cater to this particular need. There's a huge gap between what the academia teaches and what the industry actually demands.
Not
So
at
I
all.
mean, one of the goals of Scaler Academy have been to basically bridge this gap and teach the actual
Exactly.
things that will be required for them to become a good
Exactly.
software.
So, so there are many friends of mine as well, who ask me, who know that I'm a mentor at Scaler Academy, and they think that if it's just about interview preparation, I can just go on interview bit or lead code, and I can just solve 100 problems, and I'll be well prepared for the interview. Okay, it's these small things, So, in my opinion, everyone knows about interview bit, everyone knows about lead code, right? So everyone can be well prepared for it. But these are the small things, which really give you the edge over other candidates during any interview, right? So everyone knows about BFS, DFS, hashing, graphs, DP. So every single student who is appearing in interviews for any software company, right? They will have that knowledge. Okay, but what is the differentiating factor between all those students? It's it's knowledge about such concepts. Okay, there should be something, right, which gives you the edge, right? Now that is, I mean, so these things like system having a good system design knowledge, having having a good having good behavioral skills as well, because I think that is the most underlooked aspect in interviewing, especially for graduating students. Okay, uh, there is so yeah, these are the things which give you the edge over other candidates. Okay, and other than like lead code and interview bit and coding problems, this is I think one aspect where Scalar Academy is completely different from solving and learning just by doing interview bit and lead code, right? So yeah, I think people should probably like focus on this aspect as well, as to what different does how different the curriculum is at Scalar Academy. So and trust me, these factors are very important. I used to take interviews at Cohesity. Okay, and yeah, I have had cases where a candidate was good, but I but but I but ultimately my decision was that he won't be a good teammate. Okay, uh, you know uh, you don't recommend the smartest candidate for hire. You recommend that candidate which you will feel most comfortable working with, right? Smartness is just one small aspect of it. Okay, there are a lot of other factors which interviewers consider while interviewing.
Right. That's very important. I mean, in fact, no company basically. So the most important thing that the companies care about you is whether you are a good team player, whether you will be able to uh, take take the problems and basically discuss them with your peers, break the problems down, actually come up with solutions, and not just. I mean, so nobody wants a 10x engineer who cannot work in a team.
Exactly.
Nobody really is looking for that kind of person. So
Yeah,
that is
exactly.
a very good advice that you gave out to our students. Thank you for that. So we have a lot of other questions that are coming in, but I mean, it seems that we are kind of over time. So we've already been at this since more than an hour. So let's do one thing. So guys, what I would suggest everyone to do is, if you have further questions, then please reach out to Ayush over LinkedIn or over Facebook, and you can also reach out to me. So I am Pragya Agarwal. I work at Interbit. Please ping me on LinkedIn if you have any further questions regarding the curriculum at LinkedIn. How would you basically, how should you go about your choices? How should you improve your time management? Uh, with that, I would basically like to close. And basically, before we close, Ayush, could you share some tip that you would like to share with, I mean, all of our students and all of our viewers? Some general piece of advice that you would like to give out.
Yeah. Again, it would probably, sorry if I sound repetitive, but please be consistent. Okay, please be consistent. Don't overwork yourself, and and please know that when a company is interviewing you, they want to hire you. Okay, so when a company has processes your application, and they give the go ahead, and they set up the panel to interview you, they have really high hopes from you that you will get selected. Okay, uh, no company like wants to reject you, to be very honest. Okay, they really want to hire you. Okay, so it's completely in your hands, that uh, that you get selected. Okay, So, and yeah, just be consistent. Okay, I can see like one question that, have you used advanced data structures in your code in day-to-day life apart from basic ones? Yes, sometimes we do. Okay? Sometimes we definitely do. Okay, uh, but yeah, but such cases are very few, like very few. Okay, uh, okay. I can like take that question like on LinkedIn as well. Please, Shivesh, please feel free to contact me. Okay. But yeah, coming back, my like uh, my my most important advice is be determined, okay, and be gritty, okay. Uh, this is something for beginners, you know. Coding is not something you will get in a day or two, okay. You'll consistently have to work for it, okay. And but you can be absolutely sure about yourself that if you work for a certain amount of time, you will like definitely get those concepts, you will definitely get comfortable with it. And then all these, you know, worrying about jobs and, you know, worrying about ratings on coding platforms will just remain a formality, okay. uh, and it's a very like sort of magical feeling, to be honest. You know, you will feel, you know, that you don't know anything, and then one day suddenly you will give a contest and you will feel, you know, that okay, I know this concept, I know all these concepts, and I can apply them in these problems. And you know, today, I mean, in the last contest you might have solved just one problem, but in this contest you solve probably like four problems, okay. It has happened to me, okay, it has happened to me really. So, and that will strike you, I mean, and that day, you know, you will feel okay, that okay, you will develop that confidence. And you know, you will just know, you know, that the path I am on is correct. I just need to continue on that path. And again, I just need to remain determined and like maintain my grit and just continue working on it. Okay. Yeah, that's consistency, just in one word. Yeah.
That's very true and very insightful. That's that's perfect basically. So let's see if we have any other good questions. Doesn't really seem so. Guys, if you have any further questions, please reach out to Ayush on LinkedIn. So, I mean, Ayush is a very open person. He will be very glad to accept your connection. And
Sure.
there's a lot of things that Ayush can talk to you about, right, in a personal manner. Also, feel free to reach out to me. You can also, if you have any questions, you can also write to us at info@scaler.com. All right. So, thank you so much, Ayush, for joining us today.
Thanks
All
Pragya.
right,
Yeah.
everyone. So, let us end this session and have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye.
Sure. Bye. Bye everyone.